Marcus Chen adjusted his diplomatic uniform as he walked through the gleaming corridors of the Nexus Prime station. The metal walls reflected the soft blue light that the Velkari preferred. He had been Earth's ambassador to the crystalline species for 2 years now, but he still found their world fascinating and strange. "Ambassador Chen," came a melodic voice behind him. He turned to see Princess Zarathai approaching, her crystal-like skin catching the light beautifully. She stood nearly 8 feet tall, her body made of what looked like living diamond. Her movements were graceful but careful, as if she might break at any moment. "Your Highness," Marcus bowed slightly. "Are you ready for today's meeting?" The princess nodded, though worry clouded her large, blue eyes. "The separatists have been making threats. My father insists I attend this summit. But the royal guards are nervous." Marcus looked around at the 4 Velkari guards surrounding them. Each one carried energy weapons and wore protective armor that looked more decorative than functional. The Velkari had evolved on a peaceful world with stable conditions. Their bodies were beautiful but fragile. A fall that would barely hurt a human could shatter a Velkari into pieces. "I understand their concern," Marcus said as they walked toward the meeting hall. "But this peace treaty is important. If we can get the outer colonies to agree, it will prevent a war that could destroy millions of lives." The princess looked at him with something like admiration. "Humans are strange. You always think about protecting others, even when you could simply walk away from our problems." Marcus smiled. "Maybe we're just too stubborn to give up." They entered the Great Hall, where delegates from 12 different species sat around a circular table. The air buzzed with translation devices converting dozens of languages. Marcus recognized the insectoid Thekri, the gaseous nebula, floating in their containment suits, and several other species he had met during his diplomatic career. The meeting began with formal greetings and position statements. The separatist colonies wanted independence from the Velkari Empire. The Empire wanted to maintain unity. Other species took sides based on their own interests. Marcus listened carefully, taking notes on his tablet. 3 hours into the discussions, Marcus noticed something wrong. One of the Thekri delegates was acting strangely, its antenna twitching in patterns that seemed nervous. The delegate kept checking a small device on its wrist. Marcus leaned toward Princess Zarathai. "Something feels off," he whispered. Before she could respond, the Thekri delegate suddenly stood up and pulled out a weapon Marcus had never seen before. It looked like a twisted metal tube with energy crackling around its barrel. "Death to the oppressors," the Thekri shouted. Several other delegates screamed and dove for cover. The weapon charged with a high-pitched whine that made Marcus's teeth ache. He had heard of these devices. Quantum disruptors. They were illegal throughout the galaxy because they tore apart the molecular bonds that held living tissue together. No known species could survive a direct hit. The Thekri aimed the weapon directly at Princess Zarathai. Her guards were too far away, still drawing their weapons. In that split second, Marcus saw the energy building in the weapon's barrel. He saw the terror in the princess's eyes. He saw that she would die in the next heartbeat. Marcus didn't think. He didn't calculate odds or consider consequences. His body moved before his mind could catch up. He threw himself sideways, wrapping his arms around the princess and spinning so his back faced the weapon. The quantum disruptor fired. The beam hit Marcus square in the chest with the force of a lightning bolt. The energy tore through his body like acid through paper. He felt his ribs crack, his organs burn, his blood boil in his veins. The pain was beyond description, beyond anything he had ever imagined possible. Marcus crashed to the ground, pulling the princess down with him but shielding her from the blast. His vision went dark around the edges. He could taste copper and fire in his mouth. When he tried to breathe, only blood came up. Around him, chaos erupted. The royal guards finally opened fire, killing the Thekri assassin instantly. Other delegates screamed and ran for the exits. Security forces poured into the room. Princess Zarathai rolled out from under Marcus's protective embrace, her crystal skin unmarked but her eyes wide with horror. "Marcus! No! No! No!" The court physician rushed over, a tall Velkari with golden crystal formations instead of the princess's blue ones. He scanned Marcus with medical devices, his face growing grim. "The human is dying," the physician announced. "The quantum disruptor has torn apart his internal organs. His cellular structure is collapsing. No one can survive this level of molecular damage." More guards surrounded them now. Emperor Veltheron himself appeared, his massive form towering over everyone else. The Emperor's crystal body was deep purple, marking his ancient age and wisdom. "Is the princess harmed?" the Emperor demanded. "No, father. The human saved me." He took the full blast. Tears ran down Zarathe's face, something Marcus had never seen a Valkyrie do before. The Emperor looked down at Marcus, who was now unconscious and barely breathing. Blood pooled beneath his body. Why would he do such a thing? He barely knows our species. "He said humans are stubborn," the princess whispered. "Too stubborn to give up on protecting others." The physician shook his head sadly. "His life signs are fading. Brain activity is dropping rapidly. I am sorry, Your Highness. But the human will be dead within minutes." Princess Zarathe knelt beside Marcus, placing her crystalline hand on his forehead. "He gave his life for mine, a stranger from another world, and he died to protect me. Such courage deserves our highest honors," the Emperor said solemnly. "We will ensure his sacrifice is remembered throughout our history." Marcus's breathing became more and more shallow. His heartbeat slowed to almost nothing. The physician's instruments showed his brain activity flattering into straight lines. "He is gone," the physician announced after checking his scanners one final time. "The human Marcus Chen is dead." The great hall fell silent, except for the princess's quiet weeping. Even the other species delegates stopped their panic, fleeing to show respect for the human who had died protecting their host. No one noticed that deep inside Marcus's battered body, something was already beginning to work. 3 hours had passed since Marcus Chen's death. The Great Hall had been cleared except for the immediate royal family and the human diplomatic team. Princess Zarathei sat beside the covered body, refusing to leave despite her father's gentle requests. Dr. Sarah Kim, the chief medical officer of the human delegation, knelt beside her dead colleague. She had been friends with Marcus for 15 years, ever since they served together on a colony ship. Her face was red from crying, but she was trying to stay professional for the princess's sake. "He always said he would rather die protecting someone than live protecting no one, Doctor," Kim told the princess quietly. "He meant it." Emperor Veltheron stood nearby with his court physician and several other advisors. They spoke in low, musical tones about funeral arrangements and how to honor Marcus's sacrifice. The Valkyrie had never seen such selfless courage from an outsider before. "We should prepare a crystal monument," the Emperor was saying. "Something that will last for millennia, so future generations remember." A sudden gasp interrupted him. Everyone turned toward the sound. Under the white sheet, Marcus's chest rose sharply, then fell, then rose again. "That's impossible," the court physician whispered. His golden crystal skin actually seemed to pale. The readings showed no brain activity, no heartbeat, no cellular function whatsoever. Dr. Kim threw back the sheet with shaking hands. Marcus's eyes were still closed, but his chest was definitely moving up and down. She pressed her ear to his chest and heard the strong, steady rhythm of a human heartbeat. "Marcus," she called softly. "Marcus, can you hear me?" His eyelids fluttered. Then, slowly, they opened. Marcus looked around the room with confused but very much alive brown eyes. "Sarah?" His voice was weak but clear. "Why does everyone look like they've seen a ghost?" Princess Zarathe let out a sound between a sob and a laugh. "Because we thought you were dead. You were dead." Marcus tried to sit up and winced in pain. Dr. Kim quickly helped him, supporting his back. His shirt was torn and bloody, but underneath, his skin was already starting to heal. The massive wound that had torn through his chest was closing itself, new tissue growing at a visible rate. The court physician stumbled backward, his instruments falling from nerveless fingers. "This violates every law of biology we know. No species can recover from molecular disruption. No species, you know, Dr. Kim corrected, pulling out her own medical scanner. But you don't really know humans very well yet. She ran the scanner over Marcus's body while the Velkari watched in amazement. The readings showed massive internal damage, but everything was healing. Torn blood vessels were regrowing, damaged organs were repairing themselves, broken bones were already knitting back together. Emperor Veltharon stepped closer, his massive purple crystal form casting shadows over them. Explain this. How is this possible? Dr. Kim helped Marcus lean against the wall. He was getting stronger by the minute, though he still looked pale and tired. Your Majesty, I think it's time we told you some things about human biology that we haven't mentioned before. Such as? The Emperor demanded. Such as the fact that humans evolved on what we call a death world, Dr. Kim began. Earth was not a peaceful, stable place like most species' home planets. Our evolution was shaped by constant disasters, predators, diseases, and environmental catastrophes. The court physician picked up his instruments again, scanning Marcus repeatedly. The molecular damage was complete. Every cell in his vital organs was torn apart, but not destroyed, Marcus said, his voice getting stronger. Dr. Kim pulled out a data tablet and projected holographic images into the air above them. The images showed scenes from Earth's history. Volcanoes erupting, ice ages covering continents, massive storms and earthquakes, predatory animals with enormous teeth and claws. Humans evolved backup systems for everything, she explained. If our primary organs fail, secondary systems take over. If our blood vessels are damaged, new ones grow around the blockage. If our bones break, they heal stronger than before. Princess Zarathai stared at the images. Your entire planet tried to kill you? For millions of years, Marcus confirmed. Humans who couldn't survive massive trauma didn't live long enough to have children. Only the most resilient survived. Generation after generation. We got tougher. The court physician was shaking his head in disbelief. But the quantum disruptor tears apart molecular bonds. It should be instantly fatal to any organic life. It nearly was, Dr. Kim admitted, still scanning Marcus. But human cellular regeneration works differently than other species. When our cells are damaged, they don't just die, they send out chemical signals calling for help. Other cells respond by transforming into whatever type is needed. She pointed to the readings on her scanner. Marcus's bone marrow went into emergency production mode, creating new blood cells at 10 times the normal rate. His liver started growing new tissue to replace what was destroyed. His nervous system rerouted around damaged areas using backup neural pathways. This is why humans can survive injuries that would kill other species, Marcus added. We're redundant. If one system fails, 3 others can do its job. Emperor Veltharon was quiet for a long moment, studying the data Dr. Kim had shared. These evolutionary pressures, they shaped all humans, every single one. Dr. Kim confirmed. We've been hiding just how resilient we really are because we didn't want to frighten other species. Most galactic civilizations evolved on gentle worlds. The idea of a death world producing intelligent life seems impossible to them. The princess reached out hesitantly and touched Marcus's hand. His skin was warm and very much alive. We thought humans were just good fighters. We had no idea you were built to survive the impossible. Marcus squeezed her hand gently. We didn't want you to think of us as monsters. Most species hear about Earth and assume we're violent barbarians. But you're not, the princess said with sudden understanding. You're protectors. Your whole evolution prepared you to save others, not destroy them. The Emperor looked around at his advisors, who were all staring at Marcus with a mixture of awe and fear. Word of this will spread throughout the galaxy within hours. Every species will want to know how a human came back from the dead. They'll want to study us, Dr. Kim warned. Some will want to use us. Others will want to eliminate us before we become too powerful. Marcus slowly stood up, still weak but determined. Then we better make sure they understand what humanity really stands for. The princess helped steady him. Which is, Marcus looked around at all the alien faces watching him. That we don't use our strength to conquer. We use it to protect those who can't protect themselves. The Emperor nodded slowly. Including crystal princesses who are too fragile to survive assassins. Especially them, Marcus said with a tired smile. Outside the hall, the news was already spreading. The human had died and returned to life. The impossible had happened. And the galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again. Word spread through Nexus Prime Station like wildfire. Within an hour, representatives from every major galactic species had gathered outside the hall where Marcus had died and returned to life. The corridor buzzed with dozens of different languages as aliens discussed the impossible event they had all heard about. Emperor Veltharan decided to address the situation directly. He called for an emergency session in the station's largest amphitheater, inviting every delegate and their medical staff. Princess Zarathai insisted on attending, staying close to Marcus despite her father's concerns about her safety. The amphitheater filled quickly. The insectoid Thekri huddled together, their antennae twitching nervously. The gaseous nebula floated in their containment suits, their colors shifting rapidly with excitement. The plant-like Silmari rooted themselves in special soil containers, their leaf-like appendages rustling with anticipation. Dr. Kim stood at the center podium with Marcus beside her. He still looked pale and tired, but he was standing on his own. The massive wound in his chest was now just a pink scar that was fading by the hour. Honored delegates, Emperor Veltharan began, his voice carrying clearly through the translation devices. 3 hours ago, Ambassador Marcus Chen was pronounced dead after taking a quantum disruptor blast meant for my daughter. Now he stands before us, very much alive. We have asked Dr. Kim to explain how this is possible. A Thekri delegate clicked loudly. Our species has studied biology for thousands of years. Nothing can survive molecular disruption. Nothing from your worlds can survive it, Dr. Kim corrected calmly. But as I've been explaining to the royal court, humans evolved under very different conditions. She activated a holographic projector that filled the air above the amphitheater with images of Earth. The assembled aliens gasped as they saw massive hurricanes, erupting volcanoes, ice sheets kilometers thick, and creatures with huge teeth and claws. This is Earth, Dr. Kim announced, the human homeworld. For most of galactic history, your scientists have classified it as uninhabitable, too violent, too unstable, too dangerous for intelligent life to evolve. A Silmari representative rustled their leaves. Our atmospheric readings showed constant storms, temperature fluctuations, and seismic activity. How did anything survive there? By getting very, very good at surviving, Marcus answered, his voice still weak, but clear. Every human alive today is descended from ancestors who lived through ice ages, volcanic winters, asteroid impacts, predator attacks, plagues, famines, and natural disasters that would wipe out most galactic civilizations. Dr. Kim brought up new images showing human anatomy compared to other species. Let me give you some examples of human adaptations that seem impossible to other races. She pointed to a diagram of the human circulatory system. Humans have what we call redundant circulation. If major blood vessels are damaged, our bodies can grow new pathways around the blockage within days. Most species die from blood loss that humans can survive. A nebula delegate's gaseous form shifted colors. Our species would perish from a single severed artery. Humans can lose up to 40% of their blood and still function, Dr. Kim continued. Our bone marrow can increase blood production by over 1,000% when needed. She switched to an image of human organs. We also have backup systems for most vital functions. Humans can survive with 1 lung, 1 kidney, half a liver, and significant brain damage. Our organs regenerate tissue that other species cannot. The court physician from the Velkari stepped forward. But the quantum disruptor destroys cellular structure at the molecular level. How can even backup systems function when the cells themselves are torn apart? Dr. Kim smiled grimly. Because human cells are different. When most species' cells are damaged beyond repair, they simply die. human cells go into what we call emergency mode. They release chemical signals that call for help from every nearby cell. She brought up microscopic images showing human cellular repair in action. Stem cells throughout the human body can transform into whatever type of cell is needed. Muscle cells, nerve cells, organ cells, bone cells. The damaged area becomes like a construction site, with millions of cells working together to rebuild whatever was destroyed. Marcus pointed to the scar on his chest. The quantum disruptor killed most of the cells in my torso. But it didn't kill all of them. The surviving cells immediately started the repair process. Within minutes, my body was growing new tissue to replace what was lost. A delegate from the peaceful Lirani species spoke up. This level of regeneration suggests your species has enormous metabolic demands. How do you provide energy for such rapid healing? Human endurance is another adaptation, Dr. Kim explained. We can function for days without food or water. Our bodies store energy in multiple forms and can convert almost any organic material into fuel when necessary. She showed images of human athletes performing incredible feats of endurance. Humans can run continuously for hundreds of kilometers. We can stay awake for weeks when needed. We can function in environmental conditions that would quickly kill most species. There's something else, Marcus added. Our psychological resilience. Humans can continue fighting, thinking, and protecting others, even while suffering massive trauma. Pain that would cause most species to shut down completely doesn't stop us from functioning. A Thekri medic clicked thoughtfully. Your species sounds almost designed for warfare. Not warfare, Princess Zarathe interrupted, speaking for the first time. Protection. Ambassador Chen didn't use his abilities to attack anyone. He used them to save me. Dr. Kim nodded. That's the key point. Human evolution didn't make us into perfect killers. It made us into perfect survivors. And survivors protect their communities. She brought up historical data from Earth. Throughout human history, our greatest heroes have been those who used their strength to save others, not conquer them. We value courage, sacrifice, and protection of the innocent above personal gain. Emperor Veltharan stood up slowly. Dr. Kim, are all humans capable of this level of regeneration? To varying degrees, yes. Some humans heal faster than others. But we all have these basic systems. Marcus's recovery was dramatic because the damage was so severe, but any human could have survived injuries that would kill most galactic species. The amphitheater fell silent as the implications sank in. The gaseous nebula slowly shifted to worried red colors. The plant-like Silmari's leaves drooped with concern. The insectoid Thekri clicked nervously among themselves. You're saying, one delegate said slowly, that humanity is essentially indestructible compared to the rest of us? Marcus struggled to his feet. Princess Zarathe helping to support him. We're saying that we're durable enough to protect those who aren't. That's what we want to do with these abilities. But how can we trust that? A Lirani delegate asked fearfully. If humans are so powerful, what prevents you from conquering the galaxy? Princess Zarathe stepped forward. Because 3 hours ago, Ambassador Chen proved that humans would rather die than see others harmed. He could have saved himself and let me perish. Instead, he threw himself into certain death to protect someone from a completely different species. She looked around the amphitheater at all the worried alien faces. The question isn't whether humans are dangerous. The question is whether we're wise enough to accept their protection. The amphitheater erupted in dozens of languages as delegates frantically discussed this new understanding of humanity. Some voices sounded fearful. Others sounded hopeful. All of them sounded like they realized the galaxy had just changed forever. The news of Marcus Chen's resurrection spread across the galaxy faster than any ship could travel. Quantum communication networks carried the story to every major world within hours. By the end of the day, emergency sessions were being held in government buildings throughout known space. On the water world of Aquatica Prime, the peaceful Nebula Council of Elders gathered in their floating crystal chambers. Their gaseous forms shifted through worried shades of purple and red as they discussed the implications. If humans can survive weapons designed to kill any organic life, bubbled Elder Tethani. Then they are essentially immune to our defenses. What prevents them from simply taking whatever they want? Elder Vosik's form rippled with uncertainty. The reports suggest they are protectors, not conquerors. The human died to save a Velkari princess. One human acted heroically, Tethani countered. But there are billions of humans spread across dozens of colonies. Can we trust them all to be so noble? Meanwhile, in the war-torn Kestar system, General Vek Thul of the militant Thekri hegemony studied tactical reports with growing alarm. His insectoid features twitched as he read about human regenerative abilities. Our quantum disruptors are useless against them. He clicked to his staff. Our plasma cannons might slow them down, but not stop them. If humans decide to expand their territory, we cannot resist them with conventional weapons. His chief weapons engineer, a smaller Thekri named Silkek, raised a claw nervously. General, perhaps we should consider diplomatic approaches? The humans have shown no aggressive intentions toward any species. General Vek Thul's antenna snapped with irritation. Today they are peaceful. Tomorrow they may decide they deserve to rule the galaxy. We must develop countermeasures before that happens. On the desert world of Sarthek, the reptilian Draconi Empire held a very different discussion. Emperor Mordith coiled his massive serpentine body around the holographic display showing footage of Marcus's recovery. This changes everything, he hissed to his advisors. For centuries, we have avoided expansion because we feared the casualties our forces would suffer against primitive worlds. But if humans can survive anything and protect others during colonization efforts, his military advisor, General Kesara, nodded eagerly. We could explore the outer rim territories that we have always considered too dangerous. Human resilience combined with our technology could open up thousands of new worlds. Send an immediate diplomatic message to Earth, the Emperor commanded. Offer them a partnership. We provide ships and weapons. They provide protection for our expansion teams, but not every government saw opportunity in humanity's revealed capabilities. In the crystalline spires of the Velkari capital, Emperor Veltharan faced intense pressure from his own nobles. Your Majesty, Lord Kesthul argued, his silver crystal form reflecting the ambient light nervously. We cannot allow our daughter to continue associating with this human. He has demonstrated abilities that make him incredibly dangerous. He also saved her life. The Emperor replied firmly. Or have you forgotten that detail? Lady Morthay stepped forward, her blue crystals chiming softly. We do not question his heroism, Your Majesty. But consider the implications. If one human can survive a quantum disruptor, what weapons could harm them? How can we maintain security when our guardians are more resilient than our guards? Princess Zarathay entered the chamber at that moment, her crystal form practically glowing with determination. You speak as if Marcus is a threat to be contained, rather than an ally to be treasured. Daughter, the Emperor said gently, your life was saved, and we are grateful. But the noble houses raise valid concerns about the balance of power. What balance? The princess demanded. For the past hour, I have been receiving communication requests from 12 different species. Half want to hire human mercenaries, the other half want to know if we can guarantee protection from human expansion. They are all afraid. In the religious centers of the peaceful Silmari worlds, a different kind of discussion was taking place. The plant-like beings had always believed that life was sacred and fragile, requiring careful protection from the universe's harsh realities. High cultivator Marseth swayed gently in the sacred grove, her leaf-like appendages rustling with deep thought. If the reports are accurate, humans represent a new form of life. Perhaps they are evolution's answer to the galaxy's need for protectors. Or, they are evolution's mistake, warned cultivator Fendai, his branches drooping with concern. Life should not be so resilient to destruction. It goes against the natural order. Does it? Marseth asked. Or have we simply lived so long in peaceful conditions that we forgot life can adapt to violence? Perhaps humans are what we would become if our worlds were threatened for millions of years. The most extreme reactions came from the isolationist Korthek Republic, whose leaders had always believed in keeping different species strictly separated to prevent contamination of their pure genetic lines. "This proves our theories correct," declared Chairman Corvus to his assembled senators. "Mixing species leads to unpredictable evolutionary developments. Humans are the result of uncontrolled adaptation, and they represent a threat to all properly evolved life. We must quarantine all human colonies immediately," Senator Dakthul agreed. "And we must develop weapons specifically designed to counter their regenerative abilities." But perhaps the most significant discussion was taking place on Earth itself. In the United Colonies government headquarters, President Martinez sat in an emergency cabinet meeting as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. "Madame President," Defense Secretary Chen reported, "we're receiving thousands of communication requests. 53 species want to hire human protection services. 29 species want to discuss mutual defense treaties. 15 species are demanding we restrict human travel to their territories. And the others?" President Martinez asked. 17 species want to study our biology. 9 want to trade for our medical technology. And 3 species are making what can only be interpreted as threats." Secretary of State Williams leaned forward. "Madam President, Marcus Chen's survival has essentially revealed that we're the most militarily capable species in the galaxy. Every government is trying to figure out how to either use us or neutralize us." President Martinez stood and walked to the window overlooking Earth's capital city. "What does Ambassador Chen recommend?" He sent a message saying we have an opportunity to position humanity as protectors rather than conquerors. But he warns that we need to act quickly before fear overrides logic. Meanwhile, back on Nexus Prime, Marcus sat in his recovery room with Princess Zarathai and Dr. Kim. His wounds had almost completely healed, but he still felt tired from the massive regeneration effort his body had undergone. "Marcus," the princess said quietly, "my father is under enormous pressure to distance our empire from humanity. Some of the noble houses are calling for your expulsion from Velkari space." "I understand," Marcus replied. "Fear is a natural response to the unknown." "Doctor," Kim looked up from her medical reports, "it's more than fear. 3 weapons manufacturers have already announced they're developing anti-human weapons. The Thekri hegemony has started military mobilization, and 17 different species are requesting detailed information about human weaknesses." "So what do we do?" the princess asked. Marcus stood slowly, his strength finally returning. "We prove that their fear is misplaced. We show them that humans use strength to protect, not to dominate. And how do we do that?" Marcus looked out the window at the stars beyond Nexus Prime. "By offering something no other species can provide: complete protection in a dangerous galaxy." The princess tilted her crystalline head. "You want to make humanity the galaxy's guardians?" "I want to make humanity the galaxy's choice," Marcus corrected. "Let every species decide for themselves whether they want our protection or prefer to face the universe's dangers alone." Dr. Kim frowned. "That's a huge responsibility, Marcus. Are we ready for that kind of role?" Marcus thought about the moment he had thrown himself in front of the quantum disruptor. He remembered the split-second decision to risk everything for someone he barely knew. "We've been ready for 4 million years of evolution. We just never had the chance to prove it." Outside their window, ships from dozens of species circled the station, all waiting to see what humanity would do next. 1 week after Marcus Chen's resurrection, Nexus Prime Station hosted the largest diplomatic gathering in galactic history. Representatives from over 200 species had arrived to witness what many were calling the most important treaty negotiation since the formation of the Galactic Council. Marcus stood in the central chamber, fully healed and wearing the formal blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. Beside him, Princess Zarathai wore the ceremonial crystal crown that marked her as heir to the Velkari Empire. Emperor Veltharan sat on his floating throne, while delegates from across the galaxy filled every available seat. President Martinez had arrived from Earth the day before, bringing with her a full cabinet of advisors and the authority to make binding agreements on behalf of humanity. The pressure on everyone in the room was enormous. "Honored delegates," Emperor Veltharan began, his voice carrying through dozens of translation devices. "We gather today to address the question that has consumed our governments for the past week. What role will humanity play in our galactic community? A Thekri delegate immediately stood up, his insectoid features clicking with agitation. Your Majesty, the hegemony maintains that humans represent an unprecedented threat. Their resilience makes them essentially invincible. We demand restrictions on human expansion and mandatory monitoring of all human colonies. General Vekthul, who had been granted permission to address the assembly, stepped forward. Honorable delegates, our weapons analysis shows that humans can survive attacks that would destroy entire fleets of our ships. How can we maintain peace when one species holds such overwhelming advantages? Murmurs of agreement rippled through sections of the assembly. Many of the smaller, more peaceful species nodded nervously. The reptilian Draconi delegation whispered among themselves, their scales shifting colors with anxiety. President Martinez stood to respond. General Vekthul raises valid concerns. Humanity's evolutionary adaptations do give us significant survival advantages. But I would ask this assembly to consider what we have done with those advantages. She activated a holographic display showing human colony worlds. For the past century, humans have been part of galactic civilization. We have established 53 colonies, engaged in trade with over 100 species, and participated in diplomatic relations throughout known space. In all that time, how many wars have humans started? The Thekri delegate checked his datapad. According to our records, none. How many species have humans conquered or enslaved? Another pause. None. How many times have humans used their abilities to harm peaceful civilizations? The general's antenna twitched with reluctant admission. None that we have documented. Princess Zarathe stood gracefully, her crystal form catching the light. Honored delegates, 1 week ago I was nearly killed by an assassin using the most deadly weapon in our galaxy. A human threw himself into certain death to protect me. Not for money. Not for political gain. Not because his species would benefit. He did it because protecting others is what humans do. She gestured to Marcus. Ambassador Chen has recovered from injuries that should have been impossible to survive. He could use his demonstrated resilience to demand special treatment, political concessions, or territorial rights. Instead, he stands here offering to use humanity's strength in service of others. A new voice spoke up from the assembly. Elder Tethani of the peaceful nebula had arrived the night before, her gaseous form shimmering with calm blue colors. Princess Zarathe speaks truth. The Nebula Council has studied human history extensively this week. We found something remarkable. She activated her own holographic display. Throughout human civilization, their greatest heroes have always been protectors. Individuals who used their strength to defend those who could not defend themselves. This pattern appears in every human culture, on every human world, throughout their entire history. Dr. Kim stepped forward from the human delegation. Elder Tethani is correct. Human evolution didn't just make us physically resilient, it shaped our psychology to value protection of others above personal survival. We call it pack loyalty, extended to include anyone we consider part of our community. Marcus finally spoke, his voice clear and strong. Honored delegates, I understand your fears. If I were in your position, I would have the same concerns. But I want to offer you something that no other species can provide. He looked around the assembly at hundreds of alien faces. Complete protection in a dangerous galaxy. The chamber fell silent, except for the soft humming of translation devices. The Outer Rim territories contain thousands of worlds that could support life, Marcus continued. But they're too dangerous for most species to explore. Solar radiation levels that would kill Velkari. Atmospheric conditions that would poison Nebula. Predators that would destroy Silmari colonies. You've all avoided those regions because the risk is too high. President Martinez nodded to him and activated a stellar map showing the galaxy's unexplored regions. Humans can survive in those territories. We can establish research stations, mining operations, and colonies in places that are impossible for other species. But we don't want to do it alone. What are you proposing? Asked High Cultivator Marseth of the Silmari. Princess Zarathe stepped forward with a crystal tablet in her hands. The Covenant of Living Shields. a formal alliance between humanity and any species that chooses to participate. She began reading from the tablet. Under this agreement, humans serve as dedicated protectors and explorers for participating civilizations. In exchange, those civilizations share their advanced technology, scientific knowledge, and cultural wisdom with humanity. Humans would establish protective stations throughout dangerous territories, President Martinez added. Any species could call for assistance when facing threats they cannot handle alone. Human teams would respond immediately to provide protection during exploration, colonization, or emergency evacuation. Emperor Veltharan leaned forward on his throne. And what prevents humans from using this arrangement to gradually dominate the galaxy? Marcus smiled. Because domination requires us to stop protecting others and start exploiting them. The moment we do that, we become something other than human. A Draconi senator raised a clawed hand. Ambassador Chen, you speak as if protecting others is a biological imperative for your species. It is, Dr. Kim confirmed. Human children who show protective instincts are praised and encouraged in every human society. Adults who sacrifice for others are remembered as heroes for generations. Our entire evolutionary and cultural development has been shaped around the concept that the strong protect the weak. Elder Tethani's gaseous form shifted to contemplative yellow. The Nebula Council has reached a decision. We formally request membership in this covenant of living shields. One by one, other delegates began standing. The peaceful Silmari, several smaller species that had always lived in fear of stronger neighbors. Even some of the more militant races who realized that having human allies was better than having human enemies. General Vekthul remained seated, but even he eventually stood. The Thekri hegemony requests a trial membership. If humans can prove their intentions through actions, we will consider full participation. Emperor Veltharan rose from his throne, his massive crystal form gleaming. The Velkari Empire hereby formally establishes the Covenant of Living Shields. Princess Zarathe will serve as the first director of interspecies relations. He turned to Marcus. Ambassador Chen, you have demonstrated courage beyond anything our records contain. I offer you the position of first human guardian of the Velkari throne, with full diplomatic authority to represent both species in this new alliance. Marcus looked around the chamber at hundreds of alien faces that no longer showed fear, but hope. Your Majesty, I accept this honor. But not just for the Velkari. I accept it on behalf of everyone who needs protection in a dangerous galaxy. Princess Zarathe approached him with a ceremonial crystal pendant that glowed with soft blue light. This signifies your commitment to protect others above yourself. Will you carry this burden? Marcus took the pendant and placed it around his neck. Humans have been carrying this burden for 4 million years. We're ready to share it with the galaxy. 6 months later, Marcus stood on the observation deck of humanity's first deep space protection station in the Outer Rim territories. Through the reinforced windows, he could see construction teams from 12 different species working together to build research facilities that would have been impossible before the Covenant. Princess Zarathe joined him, her crystal form reflecting the light of distant stars. The latest reports showed 23 New World surveys completed, 15 successful mining operations established, and 3 species successfully relocated from dying homeworlds. Any conflicts? Marcus asked. None requiring military intervention. Most problems are resolved through negotiation now that everyone knows human protectors are standing by. Marcus nodded, watching a Nebula research vessel dock with the station under the protection of human escort ships. Sometimes, the best way to keep peace is to be ready for war. And sometimes, the princess said softly, the best way to prove you're not a threat is to throw yourself between a weapon and someone you barely know. In the distance, more ships approached the station. Species that had never dared to explore the dangerous territories were now venturing into regions they had avoided for millennia. All because they knew that if anything went wrong, humans would be there to protect them. Marcus smiled as he watched the greatest cooperative effort in galactic history unfold before his eyes. Humanity had finally found their place in the universe, not as conquerors or rulers, but as exactly what they had always been meant to be, the galaxy's guardians.